I think that life is better when you try everything on the menu.
Remember when we first met John McClane? Argyle picked him up from the plane and took him down the Nakatomi Tower at the Christmas party. And the terrorists were overzealous, but it was sweet when they killed Ellis. And with a little help from Alan, John McClane kicked ass.
Welcome back to Shat the Movies, the podcast where we answer the question, were the movies we loved when we were growing up really that good? Have you ever caught yourself thinking, why don't they make movies like they used to? Can you still remember spending your Friday night searching for the perfect movie rental at Blockbuster Video? Do you know what Blockbuster Video is? If you answered yes, then this is the podcast for you. I am one of your hosts, Gene Lyons, and alongside me is my co-host, Big D, Dick Ebert.
Good evening.
Once again, Ash has the evening off due to storms in Texas. She wishes she could be here. Each week, we take a look back in time and decide if our favorite films still hold up. The movies we cover are chosen by you, the listeners, who generously commission films you love. If you'd like to see all the movies we have covered, will cover, want to choose one for yourself, please visit shatpod.com and have a look. At the end of each podcast, we'll provide you, the audience, with the number of wipes each movie takes to get off your respective butts. So thank you so much for listening. If you have not already, hit that subscribe button and share with a friend. It's how we help the podcast grow. Additionally, subscribe to our sister podcast, Shat on TV. We review TV series such as Westworld, Taboo, American Gods, Game of Thrones, True Detective, Lovecraft Country, and Watchmen. Find all information and past episodes at shatpod.com/TV. And finally, if you'd like to hang out with us live, follow and subscribe to our Twitch channel, shatpod.com/Twitch, and our YouTube channel where we play video games, host watch parties, and edit this podcast live. All of that being said, Big D, what movie are you reviewing tonight?
Gene, each week when our wonderful listeners commission films, there are many reasons it could be. It could be a cherished memory with a family member. It could be a first experience out in a theater, seeing a film on the big screen, or to celebrate a milestone, maybe a graduation, a bar mitzvah, or a birthday. And that's what tonight's film is. It was commissioned by Shannon C. as a birthday gift for her husband, and it is a unique gift, I will say that. The topics we will cover are not what you would normally think for a birthday celebration, and it is the 1980 family drama, Ordinary People.
And Shannon is definitely going to get her investments worth with this gift because Big D, you and I have to put on our big boy pants and watch a drama. This is not Blazing Saddles. This is not PCU.
Oh.
This is a drama, an Academy Award-winning film directed by none other than Robert Redford.
Not a single fart joke, Gene.
Not a single fart joke.
Not a single one. This was not Blazing Saddles.
And this was in the fart era. That seal had been broken.
Yes, the seal had been broken. Yes, it was okay to fart on screen.
Well, Ordinary People is a 1980 drama and Robert Redford's directorial debut. It's based on the 1976 novel of the same name. The film follows the disintegration of a wealthy family following the accidental death of one of their two sons and the attempted suicide of the other. It stars Donald Sutherland, Mary Tyler Moore, Judd Hirsch, and Timothy Hutton. And if you're asking yourself, did anyone want to go see this movie in 1980? Yes. This film grossed $90 million on a $6 million budget and was chosen by the National Board of Review as one of the top 10 films of 1980. It garnered 6 nominations at the 53rd Academy Awards and won 4: Best Picture, Best Director, Best Adapted Screenplay, and Best Supporting Actor for Timothy Hutton, who was the youngest recipient at that time at age 20. In addition, the film won 5 awards at the 38th Golden Globes: Best Motion Picture as a Drama, Best Director, Best Actress for Mary Tyler Moore, Best Screenplay, and Best Supporting Actor, once again for Timothy Hutton. So, Big D, we always ask where you were when you saw a film, or if you haven't seen it, what your memories are of it. You, as the senior member of the podcast, should go first.
So I'm old, but I'm not that old. You know, this would have been, I would have probably been maybe turning 7, so I did not see this in the theater. And this isn't a kid's movie, you know, but even as I got older, I would actively avoid films like this. You could tell by the poster, this shit is a serious movie. You got the family, like the little layout of the photographs, and you know it's a heavy topic. And there's always, when you'd see a trailer for something like this, it was just heavy. So I actively avoided it. You know, now as I'm an adult, it's become even a little bit more. I try to avoid these stress. Life is stressful enough. I didn't need added like fictional drama and like sadness and sorrow. So this was the first time I've seen it. I normally would go see a movie for some escapism. I want something I can't see in my real life, spaceships, time travel. Family drama wasn't in it. But going back now, as like you said, this is an acclaimed film. This is something we needed in the Pantheon of Shat.
I like a movie that hurts. I like a drama. I'm into all of that. But this is a movie I had not seen. It's one of those moments that actually made me feel utterly unqualified as a movie podcast host, which we don't claim to be film critics. We just host a podcast. A Robert Redford-directed movie starring Donald Sutherland, Mary Tyler Moore, Timothy Hutton, and Judd Hirsch that won 5 Academy Awards, and I'd never even heard of it. I guess this is why we do the podcast, right? Part of it is, do the movies we loved when we were growing up hold up? I guess the other part of it is, what movies did we miss that the listeners want to turn us on to?
I didn't know that Timothy Hutton won an Academy Award. I was completely dumbfounded. This was a key movie, and it was a educational experience to go back and watch.
Let's hit the trailer.
In this typical town, in this comfortable home, 3 ordinary people are about to live an extraordinary story.
It's starting all over again. The lying, the covering up, the disappearing for hours. I will not stand for it. I can't stand it. I really can't.
What kind of psychiatrists are you? They all believe in dreams.
I do believe in dreams. Only sometimes I want to know what's happening when you're awake.
I don't want to see any doctors or counselors. This is my family. And if we have problems, then we will solve those problems in the privacy of our own home.
I knew something was wrong even before he tried to kill himself.
I think it is a very private matter.
You never came to the hospital. How do you know about the hospital?
Your mother did come to the hospital, Conrad, and you know that.
I just don't know how to deal with it anymore.
Why are you hassling me, huh? Why are you trying to make me mad?
Are you mad?
No!
He provokes people.
I would never have let him put electricity in my head.
You blame me for the whole thing.
Can't you see anything except in terms of how it affects you?
I miss it sometimes. The hospital.
But that was a hospital. This is the real world.
Did it hurt?
We've never really talked about it.
How long are you going to punish yourself? When are you going to quit?
You loved him. What in the hell has happened?
That she hates me. Can't you see that?
Mothers don't hate their sons.
I mean, there's someone besides your mother you got to forget.
You better make sure that your kids are good and safe. And then you come to me and tell me how to be happy.
Do you love me? Do you really love me?
Just do one wrong thing.
And what was the one wrong thing you did?
Donald Sutherland, Mary Tyler Moore, Judd Hirsch, Timothy Hutton, in an extraordinary story of ordinary people.
The Jarretts are trying to return to normal life after experiencing the accidental death of their older teenage son, Buck, and the attempted suicide of their younger son, Conrad, who spent 4 months in a psychiatric hospital. Conrad feels alienated from his friends and family and seeks help from a psychiatrist, Dr. Berger, who discovers Conrad was involved in the sailing accident that caused Buck's death.
So I think last week you mentioned that you didn't gravitate towards films that have like upper class family struggles. You didn't enjoy that. So I came into this with that in mind and think about it's an affluent family. They're in a nice suburb of Chicago. They're well-to-do. And as the movie goes on, I'm thinking it makes sense. I think it was strategic. Yes, this was based on a book, but it simplifies the narrative. We're going through a family that is having struggles. But this family has everything going for it. Their life should be great. They're affluent. Dad is successful. He seems well-adjusted. He's a good dude. He's not cheating. Mom has an active social life. She's got hobbies. They have a big group of friends. They go on vacation wherever, whenever they want. They can afford anything. They don't want for a single thing. So as a result, when the family has these problems, there's big things. We got a death of a child, an attempted suicide. There's a lot of stress. If we take away all the normal day-to-day stresses that families go through, it allows you to focus on just the nuts and bolts of what this is about. This is about the story of a conflict, about dealing with grief, trying to find relief of just a lot of things that are pent up in people and getting people to communicate without the other stuff that day-to-day life has. I think it allowed us just to focus on that without anything else.
It's an interesting take on it, and I don't disagree, but I do have a counterpoint. I find it really hard to feel badly for anyone in this movie for the same reason I didn't really feel badly for anyone in Magnolia. Remember when we did Magnolia, it was the same thing, right? Your brother died in a fill in the blank here, boating accident. Conrad and his brother Bucky were out boating and they stayed out a little too late. There was clearly a fucking storm, guys.
Yeah.
They're out there. So he dies. Okay. Then your mom doesn't love you enough. She's not beating the shit out of you. I'm surprised you're not on my side on this one, Big D. She's not beating you up. She doesn't have a drug problem. She just doesn't love you enough. Sorry, mom might be German. I don't know. And you struggle on the swim team, but still a girl likes you. You have friends. Your dad is cool. Like, boo-hoo, Conrad. I don't feel bad for him at all.
You see, I'm glad Ash isn't here for that because I talked about Matilda's parents. That I said they weren't that bad, and she was shocked thinking they were monsters.
Yeah.
Yes, when you lay it out like that, yes, these kids have a good life. They suffer from affluenza. They're out yachting without their life vests on, and they're like, Dad's going to kill us. We've capsized the yacht. Whatever their little dinghy was.
I was going to say, to be fair, it was dingy at best.
It was a little dingy, but it was a big storm. But I'm feeling it because even though, let's just say these kids are affluent, they face a different stress. I don't ever, as a parent, I feel for kids and depression and suicide and the social pressures that you feel. Today, I think they're much worse because you go online and you get put down and embarrassed in front of potentially thousands of anonymous faces. Here, they go to school. They got to face those people, the people who are still going to put pressure on them.
I get what you're saying, Big D, and I don't mean to diminish anything that anybody's struggling with, right? Your point is valid, which is we're going to take out all the other factors that you normally think of struggling through life, right? It's not poverty. It's not crime. It's not drugs, right? It's not any of those things, an oppressive government. You've got everything, and still life can be hard for certain reasons. I just thought it hilarious that they went with boating accident in suburban Chicago. That's what they went up with.
Yeah, I think a car accident might have been better. Maybe something that was legitimately an accident and not due to their child's negligence.
The problem with a car accident is you can't go, hold on, Bucky. Hold on. Hold on to the wheel.
Hold on.
Hold on, Bucky.
I'm surprised he didn't be like, he's like, hey, where the hell are the life jackets? Conrad, that was your job. Get the life jackets.
I blame myself. You got to let it go, man. Everybody leaves their life jackets at home. And then if they had gotten any degree of sympathy out of me for Conrad, they throw it away once again because he turns down French toast. This to me is a capital offense. Your mom made you French toast, dude. How are you not hungry for French toast? I'm sorry. Knock on wood. I wish wealth and health and prosperity to my entire family. But if anything happened to anybody in my life, I could still eat French toast. I think that would be totally fine. It might be the food. French toast and pizza, I'm always going to say yes. But we see Beth, she's making Conrad this breakfast. Dad's at the table and son's at the table, and the friends haven't come to pick them up yet. This is a very 80s moment that I don't know if it still happens in today's breakfast nooks. Beth makes Conrad and Calvin a breakfast of French toast, coffee, and orange juice. And I get stuck on this. I was like, is this still breakfast? Like, is that what people eat? I don't have that for breakfast. Do people still have orange juice and French toast like it's a normal thing on a school day? And I can't tell if what happened here is that we left that breakfast back in the 80s or I just left it back, in childhood and don't eat that anymore.
No, I think if you're questioning, does it exist today? Is this still identified as like a good breakfast? Yes. And I'm going to go on the expert, which is the American hotel system. If you have breakfast, you could have waffles. They might have French toast. They have some eggs, some kind of a meat, a bagel. I think yes. And they also have the juices, the apple juice, the orange juice, all that. That does exist. But in a normal household, fuck no. There was no way this was happening with mom and dad running to work. This could only happen in an affluent home.
Follow-up question. Do you believe you can save French toast?
Oh, I think without a doubt.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. As long as there's a little extra egg on it, you could heat that up. And she passively aggressively throws that shit in the sink. Like, you can't save French toast. And this type of person, I've met this person, Beth, and I cannot stand it. She is the type of person who wakes up and does not leave her room until the makeup is on, the hair is done. She's put together. She's a real world Martha Stewart. She's out there, and this is photo ready. This home is clean. The table setting looks beautiful. It is a breakfast just ready for an affluent family, and I've just never experienced this.
Hot take. I think we could use a little more Beth in our lives. I'm not saying people go full Beth. Like, don't be a mom who can't even hug their own child or tell them that they love them. Don't be a person who has to keep up appearances at all expenses. But I think that everyone could stand to Beth it up just a little. Just a little bit. As an example, Big D, when I was a kid, I lived in Parker Towers in Queens. If you were going down just to the lobby, you knew that the doorman was going to see you and you knew that your neighbors were going to see you. You had to get dressed to go down to the lobby. People don't do that anymore. People go to the store in like their jammies. They don't care.
Yeah, and I always think of what you said, that you get dressed up to fly. Now, I have to dress nicer when I fly because of Vanessa's Delta employee status, and we fly non-revenue, so you have to dress similar to the medallions. You have to look presentable. So I try to do that, but there are many times that you see people in like yoga pants and a little top. We've definitely fallen pretty far for what's acceptable social attire.
Now, I might have mentioned this on a previous episode, but I do think that in that one scenario, it's okay because the TSA makes it happen. Like, I think that people were like, yeah, we'll get dressed up. The TSA is like, all right, listen, check it out. You're going to have to take your belt off. You're going to have to take your jacket off. You're going to have to take your shoes off. You're going to have to open up all your shit. People are like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm coming in sandals and shorts and a t-shirt because I don't want to have to deal with it anymore. Now, I don't. I go TSA pre-check because I like to get fancy for flights, but I understand people's motivation at the airport. And speaking of travel and breakfast, I got to talk to you about the hotel breakfast thing because I recently was looking for hotels to stay for a road trip to California. Sarah and I, we have a couple other people going. It's like a crowd thing. And she said, listen, the two biggest factors that they look for when people are like, oh, good job finding a hotel, or wow, this hotel really sucks, is there free parking for everybody who's driving out from Arizona?
Mm-hmm.
And do they have free breakfast? Because people don't want to go from the hotel to find breakfast, then go to the thing that they have to go to early in the morning. You just want to hit the breakfast in your hotel, which I understand, right? But did you know, and you probably do know, there's like all kinds of different hotel breakfasts. Now, I think most people are familiar with like continental breakfast, right? But there's a degree, I think, below that, which is grab and go.
Yes.
Which is different from continental.
Mm-hmm.
But then continental is like one level below American breakfast, which is I think what you're talking about, right? So where do waffles and pancakes fall? Is that continental or is that American?
That's a continental breakfast, yes, a continental.
What constitutes a continental breakfast?
I have no idea. I just know it when I see it. It's like, what is offensive? I don't know, but I know it when I see it. When I'm like, yes, that's a piece of fruit, a bagel, a toaster, a waffle iron, some runny eggs. That is continental breakfast.
We're going to have to go consult the International House of Pancakes to get an official answer on that. But I also discovered in LA, there's Japanese breakfast, which apparently, from what I can tell, is toast, coffee, jam, and like ramen noodles. But it's all just kind of like laid out on the table. You make it yourself. It's self-serve. I don't know how I feel about that.
No, Beth would not accept that.
Yeah, no.
Beth would hide her head in shame if her family was caught having Japanese breakfast at their local motel chain.
Conrad's father, Calvin, attempts to connect with his surviving son and understand his wife. Conrad's mother, Beth, denies her loss, hoping to maintain her composure and restore her family to what it once was. She appears to have favored her older son and has grown cold toward Conrad due to his suicide attempt. Beth is determined to maintain the appearance of perfection and normality, and her efforts only serve to alienate Conrad further. So at this point in the film, we see the first social interaction of Calvin and Beth outside of the home. They go to a party. You get thrown off a little bit because they're like, hey, why don't we do something wild? Fuck the party. Let's go to the movies. I'm like, okay, we're going to the movies. Like, no, they still end up at the party. That's like, which again, smart move by the film. They don't have to spell everything out for us. They don't have to spoon feed us. We get that there was like a moment of freedom, but that freedom was far-fetched. And in fact, they're going to follow the protocol they're supposed to follow. Smart move by the film. But it got me into thinking about another tangential subject, which is what do parties look like these days? And I don't mean to yuck anybody's yum. If you want to go to a bar or a party and you want to hang out on your phone, that's totally cool. Please do that. Have fun with it, right? Do whatever you like to do. It's your party. This is just an observation by Gene Lyons here. I recently went to a bachelor party where everyone was on their phone. The Bachelorette and the Bachelor had like a party together. It was one of those like bar crawl ones. She was taking selfies, posting them, scrolling Instagram. This is at a nightclub, right? The drinks are flowing. Everybody's there. It was themed. So the guys were wearing like tuxedo shirts and the ladies were all wearing white. But she's taking her selfies. She's scrolling Instagram. Dude, it's your party. Have a good time. That's fine. The friends, They're all on their phones in a nightclub watching TikTok, getting sports updates from the D-backs game. At one point, nearly the whole crew went outside at the nightclub. This is a nightclub that like charges cover, like $9 drinks, cover, all that stuff. They stood around a table on the patio looking at their phones. And again, like no judgment. I'm not mad at them for doing this. It was just something I was observing and it seemed so foreign to me, so odd. And so Ordinary People is really interesting in showing this adult party in 1980. And I remember these parties. Like this was my childhood, going to these parties. People are playing the piano. They're telling each other jokes. They're sitting on the stairs and just chatting. No smartphones in sight. And so I got to thinking, I was like, is Big D, is he grateful for the fact that he can now go to these parties and just be on his phone if he wants to? Or does he wish it were the 1980s again?
Well, this movie has made me have a little bit of a change. Lately, I've railed against, being in the moment. That you see the picture from like 2000s where people are like partying and no one's focused on the phone. I said, oh, that's so sweet. Look at it. Everybody was enjoying the moment. When we went to New Orleans for your bachelor party, you took us to this little like kind of hole in the wall. Like they were playing like heavy metal music, but everybody had to leave their phone at the door.
Dungeon.
So it was very odd. Other than the Masters where they take away your phones, I'd never been a place where phones vanished and everybody was sitting having fun. People didn't care about embarrassing themselves, dancing or singing or whatever. It didn't matter. And I hate when people are out in groups and like, hey, let's take a picture. You take 5, then people have to look at it. They have to approve. Then you get back in. To me, it just destroys the moment. But I will say this as a caveat. This film, you're talking about an 80s party, right? I would have wanted a phone back then because these conversations are so superficial and so bullshit. Like, well, I tell you, I was back there talking with Don in accounting. And did you know that our stock went from 114? And then they cut to the wives and they're talking about just everyone looks like they're dead inside. If you could give them a telephone, any of them would be like, oh, hold on, just wait a minute. I got a work email here. It was an escape.
Dude, I've been out and taking a photo on my phone thinking that when I get home or when I have some downtime, maybe I'm on the shitter, I'll post the photo later. People at the thing will ask like, hey, where's the picture? Why have you posted it yet? You posted it, tag me? Like, dude, we're still here doing the thing. What the fuck? I guess that's the Insta and Instagram.
No, I think if it's used properly, it can be an escape. Like at this party, you would have wanted it because the people are sitting around, they're having conversations, but there's really no valuable information being shared. It's all that superficial bullshit that if at least you'd be like, yo, did you see that tweet? Yeah, look at that. Look what's on X. You see that Instagram or TikTok?
There was some funny shit going on at that party. The one guy that's like, I am not talking to you.
Yes.
This is why I like doing things. This is why I like hashing, riding motorcycles, doing Krav, jiu-jitsu, whatever. It's like, we're still hanging out, but we're doing something. So I don't have to talk constantly and I'm not on a screen. So I dig it a lot. The other thing that I really like to do is drink heavily. And that has a lot to do with this as well. Once you get drinks flowing, shit gets funny. And you saw that a little bit with Calvin where he had a few drinks and he actually slipped into a real conversation. Yeah, scolded for it.
Oh, yes.
But that's what the drinking's for.
Yeah, he was having a real conversation about his family and about the health and well-being of his beloved son. And that's our first insight, you're right, into this marriage. I'm trying to feel it out. I'm like, okay, we have a hint that something has happened. We don't know yet what happened. We haven't seen the capsized dinghy. We haven't seen any of that, but we know it's coming, right?
For people who haven't seen this movie, you know it was made on $6 million because it's like 2 pieces of blue plywood in a pool, and there's like a guy with a hose off screen just spraying them. And that's all you get to see of this boating accident.
It looks like Cabin Boy and One Crazy Summer did a boating scene with the leftover piece of the boat in like One Crazy Summer that they turned into the Ferrari. It's bad, but it's a serious film, so I want to give it its due. So we meet the family, and there is stress. There's a coldness in the marriage. They're doing things by the number. It's very formal. It feels superficial. And we don't know how long it's been like this. We see flashbacks to earlier times where they were a happy couple, where the kids are rolling around on the floor and everybody looks like a really affectionate, happy family. But now everybody's pulling in different directions. Beth is pretending that everything is perfect. She's got on this face for all of her friends. You can't talk about us not being perfect. Don't talk about therapy. Don't talk. That's a family matter. Everything in this movie is very secretive, very family oriented. Calvin is concerned with Conrad. Is he perfect? No, he's a little oblivious. He's blind. But he says, hey, get your friends. Let's go play flag football. Or let's go play football in the front yard. He's trying. He's not capable, but he's trying his best. He's a bit oblivious. Conrad is hanging on by a thread. This dude has already tried to kill himself. He was in the hospital, and he is struggling. He's waking up in cold sweats. He's having trouble doing things at school that he once loved. He's got this guilt inside. And I'm immediately, right or wrong, I'm blaming Beth. I'm thinking Beth is the problem. I'm hating Beth, and I'm really not understanding the things that she's doing. We learn about how she's coping with these issues. She went on vacation when her son was in the hospital. She said, I have the flu. I can't go. Is she concerned with Conrad struggling with sanity and maybe killing himself again? No, she's focused on vacation at Christmas. Do we want to bring Conrad? No, let's leave our suicidal son home. She scolds Calvin for the drink at the party. She never went to see Conrad in the hospital. She went to Spain and Portugal instead. She's gaslighting the dad. And that's the worst. That's why I'm thinking she's a monster. Every time the dad brings up something, she says, oh, it's you. You're so gullible. He's using you. He should just been like, shut up. Our son is fragile and might kill himself again. We're going to be 0 for 2 with our kids.
Yeah, this is in line with what we would expect from Dick Ebert, because as I've grown to know you as a friend, I've also grown to know you as a father. And I see the way you interact with your daughter. You're a very loving dad. You're a very loving
I believe
parent.
You said I have my head up her ass.
Yeah, you basically, I think you eat her shit, I think is what I actually said.
What you said.
I think it's a little more attached than I would be. And you follow the same logic I think that my mom does, which is if you give your kid love, that's rule one. You give your kid love, you let them know you always support them, you're always there for them. Everything else will work itself out. When you break that part, if you can't get that part right, then none of the rest of it matters. But I've also seen families where the Calvin method of being loving and being understanding and giving your kid a break backfires big time. Beth is just a different type of person. She wants action. She does not want talk. She doesn't believe in talk. She doesn't want to go to therapy. She doesn't want to talk it out with people. She wants to do things. And so I think that what she's pushing for, these vacations, these trips, all this stuff, is if you return to normal, things will become normal. Is she right? No, absolutely not. But she wants action, not talk. That's the difference. And my mom's a lot like that in some ways too. My mom thinks anything can be solved by willpower alone. My nephew made a comment that like a particular section of school was a struggle for him, right? And my mom like went up, struggle? You don't know what struggle is. Maybe that's my entire approach to this film, right?
No.
Did you survive the Iranian Revolution? Have you lost a spouse? Did you have to learn English in a foreign country? That's struggle. And I've never even used the word struggle. Thankfully, my mom is super affectionate, so at least I came out sort of okay. But growing up in a household like that, I totally understand that the viewpoint that willpower can overcome things is also not entirely wrong.
So, but you say go back to normal. I want to remind you of what normal was. In the block, you said, I believe I wrote it down here. Beth may have loved her son Bucky more. There is no doubt that she loved Bucky and she could give two shits about Conrad.
I don't know that, and we don't get that established. It's also quite possible, like in Conrad's view of things, right? It was like, oh, mom didn't love me as much. But also, it might have been the fact that Conrad was kind of odd and Bucky wasn't.
Whether early on she had this much love for him, I think once there's the accident, she blames him for taking away her favorite son. So I think that has a lot to do with where we are. And there was something that I watched in one of my videos recently that fit perfectly into this part in the movie. Beth is all about putting on that face. Beth is about not showing weakness. We are the perfect house. Our breakfast is perfect. Our French toast is perfect. Our orange juice is perfect. Everything is perfect. And the statement that, and I remember where they got this from. They were saying that people have three lives. You got a public life, you got a private life, and then you've got a secret life. And the idea is that the public life is what takes place in a community setting. It's where you interact with others. Private life is away from public, but it's still around people. It's around your friends, your family. And then the most important one is who you are. It's the secret life. It's the life that you have inside, the conversation that you have with yourself. It's where your heart is. It's where you kind of get in your own head and you figure out what motivates you. What do you enjoy? What are your vices? The things that you actually live for. And it reminded me of the first time I did mushrooms. And I think anyone who's done some psychedelics, yes, there's dangers, but I think it also gives you a window into what makes you tick. And it helped me identify my flaws, the things that I did that were destructive in my nature, and helped me become, I think, a better, more aware person today. Am I perfect? No. But people like Beth is so unaware that she thinks her stoic facade about acting like everything with her family is perfect. She is torturing herself. She is torturing her husband. She is torturing everyone around her. And the performance by Mary Tyler Moore is fantastic. You can see the cracks around the seam of this facade she's trying to portray. And I just felt bad for her.
You know, when you frame it that way, it's no wonder that artists suffer, right? I know it's a cliche, but like if that is the case, that you have your three lives, what is art other than like bringing your private life into public life? Which sounds like a really bad idea. Yeah. Like it sounds like a very, very dangerous game to be
dangerous.
Playing. But I wonder, Big D, so, I mean, you've been married longer than I have. And speaking of this framework, just so I understand it better, does being married mean giving someone access to your private life?
No, because you see people who live secret lives.
Right. But I guess what I'm saying is like optimally, right? Ideally.
I would believe that you and Sarah know the deepest, darkest, dirty, despicable versions of each other.
I don't know.
So I think you guys are good. I don't think everyone does. I think actually most people do not. Like if you talk now about how people like talk about body counts, I will bet you a majority of people get married today not knowing or believing a wildly underestimated body count.
You think so?
Yes. For their spouse, I think definitely. I think, and it's, you have to know what makes somebody tick, because that true secret self, you're never going to make that disappear. That's who you are. And that's what makes people hide and lead secret lives and do like dirty, terrible, perverted or violent or illegal things or drugs or hiding alcohol. It's got to be the saddest way to live. And her pretending is taking away the joy she used to have in life at some point. And as much as I think she's a monster and that, you know, she doesn't want anybody else to get therapy, I think she's the one who needs to be going to therapy.
And it's got to be tough, you know, to be sympathetic to some degree to Beth. Is like, imagine her life prior to this boating accident, right?
Yes.
Like, everything's fucking awesome.
It is fucking perfect. And even later on, Calvin says that. He says, you were great until it became a challenge. She had hit the jackpot. You're right. So maybe that's why she's sour. She's like, I didn't sign up for this.
The fuck?
Oh, God damn it.
Going to Houston.
Play golf.
Well, Conrad works with Dr. Berger and begins to learn how to deal with his emotions rather than control them. He starts dating a fellow student, Janine, who helps him regain a sense of optimism. However, Conrad still struggles to communicate and establish normal relationships with his parents and schoolmates. Beth and Conrad often argue while Calvin tries to referee, generally taking Conrad's side for fear of pushing him over the edge again. So I understand, Big D, that dramas, especially those based on novels, it's going to be a lot of talking.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? This isn't our run-of-the-mill Shat the Movies movie, right? We're not going to get a lot of action scenes. We get like 1 and 2 if you count swimming. We're not going to get a ton of laughs. I think we get like 1 or 2. And I accept that. But I felt like about halfway through the movie here, ordinary people might as well have been called, you want to talk about it? The movie. Because Conrad's dad, he's like, you want to talk about it? And then his friend's like, you want to talk about it? Dr. Berger, who arguably, I mean, he gets paid to do it. You want to talk about it? Janine, you want to talk about it? And I get what the film is doing. They're trying to hammer home that this is a common response people have when they encounter a person who's survived trauma. That's what you're supposed to do, right? Hey, man, you want to talk about it? But that doesn't make it interesting to the audience when we're following that same thread over and over, because I felt like after a while, the movie started to feel like a little bit of a broken record.
But I think the talking, yes, everybody says, do you want to talk about it? Do you want to talk about it? But nobody actually does. Nobody actually says anything of substance or anything that reveals feelings. Everybody's like, hey, you want to talk? No? Okay, I'll see you later. Okay. Or your friend, hey, you want to talk? No? Okay, let's go. Nobody's actually getting to what's beneath the surface. They're pretending to be happy. And the conversation was the friends. They're golfing, right? And I love that it explodes. And the friend says something like, oh, don't fight. We just want you to be happy. And she's like, happy? Happy? Do you know what happy is? They're all acting controlled and contained, and nobody's actually saying anything revealing until towards the end of the movie when they start to maybe use their emotions to break out of it.
So yeah, speaking of that scene on the golf course, right? We see Beth, we see Calvin, they stop holding back, they yell at each other. And this is in front of Beth's brother and his wife and the entire golf club. And I was really proud of Beth's brother and his wife for like not butting in initially, right? They're like, let's let this thing play out a little bit. They're acting like it's just a normal day at the fucking links, right? But it brought me to the uncomfortable question of like, when do you get involved in a couple's fight? Like, do you wait until it turns violent? If somebody's being verbally abusive, do you jump in and be like, hey man, you can't talk to people like that? Do you stay out of it completely no matter what happens? And I know I lean toward not getting involved. I absolutely would have let this play out at this point because I think it's healthy for people to sometimes yell at each other. I'm not saying that you and Vanessa have these kinds of problems, but if you guys were visiting, right, Arizona, and I'm hanging out with you guys and you guys are having it out over something, I'm like, yeah, that's fucking normal. Like, that's cool, whatever. As long as like nobody's like, stabbing anybody or like calling each other names, I think it's totally fine. But I wondered, like, do you have a threshold on it? Oh, wise one? Oh, elder?
If we had just lost a child and then our other child tried to kill themselves, I think you give them a little more support.
Right.
I think these conversations this isn't a normal spat. This should have been a conversation that they should have had over the time and really I think it's the family's responsibility, your friend's responsibility to make sure you're okay beyond just, do you want to talk? So I think they do the best. They say, we want you to be happy, hoping to start the conversation, but they weren't ready because they hadn't any hints of this true emotion until it's just a waterfall of it all over them.
But I don't know that Ward and his wife were representative of everybody in the movie, because I think Calvin, the dad, like, he was definitely listening. He went into Conrad's room several times and was like, hey man, like, let's talk about this. Dr. Berger certainly is listening. It's his job. But even Lazenby, his friend, Conrad's a fucking dick to that guy. And then Conrad comes out and he beats the shit out of Animal Mother right outside of the school. And his friend Lazenby is still like, hey dude, like, gets in the car with him. He's like, dude, like, let's talk about this. I think everybody was willing to listen. Janine, she's like, yeah, okay, so you're a fucking weirdo, but I'll still listen to you. I feel like Beth, Ward, a few people definitely did not want to know what Conrad had to say, but plenty of people did.
Yeah, but not the important people. I think my mom was the important one.
Not dad, not his best friend, not his girlfriend, not the psychiatrist, but other than them, nobody wanted to listen.
No, and Dad's
none of the
dumb.
important people.
Dad keeps like believing that he's doing well. Dad
He's
believes
not dumb. Dad's great.
Throwing a football around in the front yard with his friends, that's the way you want to go. And there's no therapy, there's no support in school, there's no.
I also love that the movie, anytime there's a guy who's going to really listen to you, he's got to put on a big sweater. That's how you know.
It's
this
on.
Is a man you can trust. He's got a big, nice big sweater. Well, tensions escalate near Christmas when Conrad becomes furious at Beth for not wanting to take a photo with him, swearing at her in front of his grandparents. Afterwards, Beth discovers Conrad has been lying about his after-school whereabouts. This leads to a heated confrontation between Conrad and Beth. Beth and Calvin take a trip to see Beth's brother Ward in Houston, where Calvin presses Beth about her evasive attitude.
So we're finally getting to the point in the movie where things are starting to bubble to the surface. We're starting to get some passion. Nobody's playing nice anymore. It's not just ordinary families and ordinary people. Ooh. And we're getting to the heart of why this movie became so acclaimed in the Oscars. And you said the nominations and the wins, and the performances are great. Judd Hirsch, amazing. Mary Tyler Moore, amazing. Donald Sutherland, oblivious and amazing. Timothy Hutton, I'm thinking, yes, he is young. He's the youngest Academy Award winner at this point. He's doing well up until his breakthrough with Dr. Berg. It became a little laughable to me. I'm thinking Good Will Hunting. The dynamic between Matt Damon and Robin Williams, they were going back and forth. Here, Judd Hirsch is the adult. He's the senior actor. He's carrying it. And then they camera pans to Conrad. And I'm like, this was not the winning category, I think, for the Academy Awards as Best Supporting Actor.
I love Judd Hirsch. Taxi was really big in my childhood. We watched it because my uncles were taxi drivers. And so I thought Judd Hirsch was just like one of my taxi driving uncles that happened to be on TV. He's got that very 80s face. He's got a calming demeanor. But this can't be how therapy actually works, right? You don't just push a suicidal kid until he has a breakthrough and says, I just realized something. Like the movie, like you said, it falls apart at this point. Or let the dad keep talking until he gasps, I think I came here to talk about myself. Like this felt like the psychiatric equivalent of A Few Good Men, right? Like that's how lawyers work, like Matlock. You just push it until the witness cracks, right? It is high on drama, but I can imagine psychiatrists, therapists, psychologists out there going, oh man, what the fuck is this? It does not feel real.
But I don't know. The family's got money, and we know that he charges $50 an hour. I'm assuming that's expensive at that point, but yet, contradictorily, it doesn't seem like this is the best therapist money can buy. It's not like Beth is out there. If Bucky was having a problem, Beth would be out there like getting the best doctor, the best support. Here, it's almost like they went unconventional and bargain bin.
But Bucky wouldn't have a problem.
That's very true.
Mm-hmm.
That's very true. But let's just say he had a physical ailment. He hurt his coxing hand while boating.
Bucky doesn't get hurt.
But Bucky could. I think that it's a case of unconventional, a family that actively tries to suppress therapy and sharing of feelings. And this is the only way you're going to break through. And it's much like the dynamic I said where we Good Will Hunting, where they're provoking each other. There's a point where Conrad insults the doctor's wife and asks if he's jerking off. It's a very strange relationship. But I'm sorry, this does not feel, to go back to the Academy Awards, this does not feel like a best film. When you have Raging Bull in the same category. Raging Bull and this small family drama does not feel the same. It doesn't feel like it did. And how did Mary Tyler Moore not win? Yes, I'll give it the screenplay win. The director, I'm going Scorsese again, Raging Bull. I think this was our first Shat the Movies experience with Oscar bait. This is an Oscar bait film, something that you could just see people crying in the theater and be like, oh my goodness, that was the best thing I've seen. The best thing.
I'm so out of touch with the Oscars that I honestly can't even tell you who was nominated.
Oh, now I can't either.
I have no idea what the fuck's out there. But much like Shat the Movies, I don't think you can objectively score movies in a universal way. I know it's cliche, but just being nominated, I think is a pretty big deal. Was Raging Bull a better film? I haven't seen it recently, so I couldn't really tell you. But I definitely rather watch it than this.
I think just for the transformation that he does with his body throughout the film, I think is fantastic. I think but Mary Tyler Moore, great performance, understated. I only know her from the TV show. She goes from crazy, me hating her, to at some point feeling bad for her. It was a performance that changed my opinion of her as an actor.
Well, Conrad suffers a setback when he learns that Karen, a friend from the psychiatric hospital, has died by suicide. A cathartic breakthrough session in the middle of the night with Dr. Berger allows Conrad to stop blaming himself for Buck's death and accept his mother's frailties. However, when Conrad tries to show affection, Beth is unresponsive, leading Calvin to emotionally confront her one last time. He questions their love and asks whether she is capable of truly loving anyone. Stunned, Beth packs her bags and goes back to Houston.
So now we hit the climax of the film. Dad, son have gone to therapy. They've made a miraculous breakthrough. I mean, Conrad is out dating. He seems like it's a happy relationship. He's doing some problem resolving on the fly. He gets over Karen's suicide really quick. He's on a path to recovery. And Beth, I've come down hard on Beth earlier. I said she's a monster. She's responsible for a lot of the family's problems. But yet, I'm starting to have a little turn here. Yes, she treated Calvin and Conrad and even Buck strange, but I may have it wrong because of Mary Tyler Moore's performance. It is so good. When she breaks down here, when she's having the conversation with her husband, did you ever love me? It's as if she's wearing a mask throughout the film where she's been hiding. It's like this caked on Joker smile. And Calvin emotionally says, I can't keep going on like this. Are you capable, or have you ever been capable of loving someone? her eyes start to like bulge and well out of her head. I thought her head was going to explode. There's a moment that I realized, holy shit, she has been suffering the most throughout this movie. Her desire to be the perfect wife, the perfect breakfast, the perfect everything. She's been dealing with the failure that she was as a mother, that she allowed this to happen. She allowed her family to fall apart. And I'm really in a movie that really promoted mental health, therapy, that they allowed her to walk off. That dad is kind of like, hey, I'm free. You're never capable of loving. We're going to be here. I don't know where mom is. I don't know when she's going to come back. That woman is the one who needed therapy. She is going to carry this on. And I wouldn't be surprised if she doesn't last very long down in Texas, because that sorrow and that emptiness that she's been burying underneath, you bottle that up. At some point, it's going to explode.
When she has that breakdown, it's a real Westworld glitchy moment. It's like a host having a reverie. But I don't think the movie discards Beth as forever broken. I think Ordinary People honestly was rather understanding of and fair with Beth. It depicted her as this woman who is put in the position of keeping a family together and trying to save face in the community. And every time she makes any progress in that way, there's like a massive setback, right? So she's like, okay, cool. No, well, not cool, but like my son died, but hey, I'm going to keep this family together. Oh, and then my other son tried to kill himself, but I'm going to try to keep this family together. Oh, my other son then went to a psychiatric hospital for 4 months, but I'm going to try to keep him together. Oh, but my husband now sent him to a psychiatrist, so that's great. I'm going to try to keep this together. Oh, and now my husband is drunk and telling everybody that the kid's in therapy and airing our dirty laundry in public. I get where things are not going so well for Beth. Does she need help? Yes, absolutely. Is she treated unfairly by the writers? Not really. Like, I think they captured her in a very holistic way. I think Beth's going to be okay.
No way.
She's going to find a much simpler life and settle right into it.
Oh, there is no way she's going to be okay. Remember what Calvin's request was. He said, you don't have to love your son. You just can't openly hate him.
Yeah. She's going to find a nice oil guy or a cattle rancher somewhere out there in Houston, have lots of money, and just, go golfing with Ward, Puerto Vallarta, Cancun. Yeah, she'll be fine.
You're probably 100% correct.
Nice cars.
She's going to get over this, and she's going to realize, hey, I lost a son that was worth saving. I'll get rid of these 2 fucking wet blankets. I'm going to go have some fun with some Texas oil money.
Arriba.
Yeah, ordinary people, ordinary lives.
All right, now's the time of the podcast where we give our Shat score for Ordinary People. The Shat score is our way of telling you how many wipes this movie would take to get off your respective butts. 0 wipes is a perfect movie. It's when you're married to a fat lady and you go home and you fuck the living daylights out of her. And 5 wipes is an absolute disaster of a movie. It's when you're determined, but you're not strong. Big D, why don't you go first?
I have some mixed feelings here, but I think I'm going to go 1 wipe. I got to go 1 wipe. And I think Ordinary People, it's going to have an effect on me like LA Story did. In LA Story, Sandy is kind of this vapid roller skating girl who's like, hey, I want to go out and do things and live life. And I've tried to embrace my inner Sandy. Thank you.
How'd that work out for you?
It's been great. I've attempted to live my life. Sometimes it doesn't work out, but at least I'm there. I'm in the passenger seat of life and living, trying to be out there. And this film, I think, is going to have a similar effect. And I'm not saying it's going to be like, hey, let's talk about it with the people I love. But I'm often guilty of not being present in the moment and not connecting with the emotions behind words that are said. So a lot of things in this film. There was a moment when they were talking about his friend was trying to counsel him on not worrying too much about your children, because once they're gone, all that worry is for naught. All that worry is wasted. And I need to do a better job of connecting emotionally, especially with my child, with Emma. I try not every day when I pick her up from school to say, hey, what'd you learn? What did you do? I try to say, hey, what point of the day made you feel the best? Was there something you were proud of? What was the biggest challenge you faced? And I hope that this movie, like today when I picked her up from karate, I tried to have a conversation with her. She was a little closed off to it because she had just done karate for an hour and wanted to go home and eat. But for that. I think the movie started the conversation about what is mental health, what is the family dynamic, how do you deal with loss? And I hope I never have to face any of that, but I hope I'll be a little better father for what I've seen on screen.
I'm going to come in a little bit lower than that, specifically for something you said in this podcast, which is this movie feels like Oscar bait. Now, it's Oscar bait that worked. It is well acted, but the breakthroughs in therapy, I feel like is where the movie struggled a little bit. It was really convenient. Okay. And that does not mean that the film is not mature. It is mature. It is beautiful. I loved that it didn't spoon feed me the Beth character or the Calvin character, both of whom are fascinating, right? There's so much to unpack there. And just think about the fact that this is one of those movies where we could talk about it for another hour or two, just examining the characters, the events that transpired. We didn't really even talk about Janine and what her deal is. But it reminds me of, as you mentioned, like a more grown-up Good Will Hunting. And the ending, I gotta say, it felt like a touch abrupt. I thought you were going to scream about that she just packs her bags and then the two of them are on the deck and like, well, all right, let's hug it out, I guess. The end. Roll credits.
No, you forget. The line that ends this is, the yard looks much bigger without leaves.
That's what ordinary people talk about.
Yeah, I guess it's just life moves on and,
ordinary people.
Neither one seems too upset that she's gone. So maybe that was the breakthrough the family needed.
All right. With 2 wipes from me and 1 wipe from Big D, that gives us an average wipe score of 1.5 wipes for 1980s ordinary people.
Some people might scream, Gene, that's a low score for such an acclaimed Oscar-winning film. But with 1.5 wipes, that now makes this film slightly better than Clue, Leon the Professional, Risky Business, and Return to Oz, and slightly worse than Death Becomes Her, A Few Good Men, Christine, and One Crazy Summer. Who would have thunk it?
If Conrad could just get his shit together, go to California, meet a gal.
I think Calvin is going to do very well. Calvin's successful. Now he's well adjusted. He's going to therapy. Beautiful house. I wouldn't be surprised if one of their social circles is just waiting to sweep in and take Beth's place.
Yeah, there's a lady from the stairs. Ordinary people too.
Happy people.
Well, Shannon, I hope you find that score fair. And if you don't, please feel free to give us a voicemail or write us, host@shatpod.com, and let us know your thoughts on our score of Ordinary People. Also, would love to hear from your husband. And speaking of hearing from listeners, we have a few emails I'd like to get to tonight. The first one comes from Tyler, and he's asking about Jungle Fever. He says, hi, Shat Crew. I've been a new listener to the podcast for a month and have engaged listening to your thoughts on other movies from the past. I have a personal request for you to share your thoughts on Jungle Fever. It's been another one of my favorite Spike Lee joints, along with Do the Right Thing, Inside Man, 25th Hour, and Malcolm X. I remember watching Jungle Fever one day when I was already a high school graduate after being on the hunt for finding movies by the director and seeing a few of them on one of the movie channels. From start to finish, I was liking what I was seeing. It was like seeing an everyday thing that people from different races would think of. So I liked what was in the film, despite an overly dramatic ending. But Jungle Fever still remains one of my favorites. I hope I get to hear your thoughts about it. Keep up the good work. And that comes from Tyler. I would love to cover Jungle Fever with Big D because I think it might make him uncomfortable, which is fun.
I don't think I'd be uncomfortable.
Well, I know how you feel about interracial relationships.
Oh, you're so full of shit. You're so full of shit. I actively support it and encourage it.
You might say you fetishize it a little bit.
I think that life is better when you try everything on the menu. So I think it's important to do. But just looking at the cast, I mean, the cast looks very much like Do the Right Thing. I mean, we have many of the same returning characters, but a young Halle Berry, Wesley Snipes. This would be something I would like to do. It might be a little controversial, but I don't shy away from that.
And you love a theme song. Jungle Fever's got a great one. Well, Tyler, that sounds like a yes. So get in touch with us and Big Deal let you know how to commission, which brings us to an email from Tom who asks, hey, gang. So it's $175 to commission a movie, correct? And they must be from the 80s or 90s, correct? That comes from Tom.
Tom, 175 is it's the basement. It's whatever you feel comfortable above that. We feel guilty asking for any money. I honestly do. But it helps keep the light on. It also helps the line. Because when we had it lower, we were stretching almost into 2 years, which hertz. So it's priced out to where it keeps us about a year and keeps the lights on and ensures that if Gene and I were hit by a bus or we were capsized on a boat and neither one of us could hold on, that the servers would stay on for at least a couple years to share our story.
It also ensures that we don't have to resort to illicit means to get our hands on the films that we're going to cover. Like Shannon's commission may have covered the cost of me purchasing PCU and adding it to my DVD library.
Keeps us respectable. Yeah. Keeps us honest. And the answer is yes.
Next up, we have another commission inquiry from Davis the Hoser, who says, "Hey, Shat Crew, I've been listening for a long time now. I think I caught you guys around the Pulp Fiction episode and always wanted to commission a movie. I finally decided on a movie for you to review, and then I see it's already on the schedule. The likes of The Thing, Alien, Monster Squad, etc. I love that they've been done. I just wish I could have supported you for it. As I'm sure you all understand, the pandemic and situations surrounding it created some difficulties. Now that my birthday is fast approaching and I am able to do so, I wanted to inquire about commissioning a movie for a specific date in 2025. If that is at all possible, please let me know, as I'd love to commission a movie for the closest release date to March 21st, 2025. I have a few different movies in mind, so please also let me know if you'd prefer I pick one or give you a selection of 3 or 4 and have you 3 pick. Love the show, love the banter, keep it up. Also, I'm curious about joining the community, but I'm having troubles finding your Discord or any information about if it's a subscription. Thanks, Davis the Hoser." So I'll go first. The Discord is open to everyone. It is totally free. Davis, I will email you with the link to the Discord, so don't worry about that. We'd love to have you on there. It's mainly everybody laughing at me and how bad I am at fantasy baseball, but there's other stuff going on there. Now, Big D, I'll pass it to you as far as that date, March 21st, 2025, and whether you'd rather have him pick a movie or give us a selection of 3 or 4 to pick from.
Well, Jim, we run into the problem is that we are scheduled as of this recording into May. So that would force to shift down. And the closest to that date would be also a problem because that would fall in between our Star Wars and Return of the Jedi recording. So we don't want to break those two apart. So if there's a little flexibility, and it could be a couple weeks later, we would love to hear it. And even though it's nice to offer us the film, I find that when the commissioners pick it for whatever it is, we find the diamonds in the rough. We find the films we never would have watched, and it's more enjoyable for us. And I think even though the audience complains sometimes, like, oh, this is a weird stretch of films, nobody's seen these, it will lead to a wider audience for all the movies, and I think it's fun to talk about.
Yeah, if you would have asked me, Ordinary People, Desperado, La Bamba, or PCU, Ordinary People would not have been my choice. But as you can see, it had the best wipe score out of those 4 and led to probably the lengthiest discussion as well.
Agreed. So yes, if you want to pick a movie and you're a little flexible with the date, we would love to accept your commission.
Thanks, Davis, for your email. Next up, we have one from Chris, who's writing in about his first concert. He says, "Hey, everyone. First, I wanted to say I've been listening to the show for a few months after discovering it for True Detective. Since then, I've been listening to Shat the Movies as I've now gone back and started from the beginning. I was born in 1980. I must love Ordinary People. So this is right up my alley. Anyway, the reason I'm writing is because the Crush Groove episode. Gene mentioned that the Beastie Boys on the Ill Communication tour was his first concert, and it actually was mine too. I've attached a pic of my ticket from the show. Thanks for all you do. I love traveling down memory lane." That comes from Chris. Now, Chris attached this photo, and Big D, I don't know if you can see it, but Beastie Boys at the Omni, okay, $21. $21 for the show, including $1 that was donated to charity.
We want to talk about technology. Do you used to have to go to like the store where they had the Ticketmaster machine? You waited in line in the morning at like 8 a.m. The phone line or whatever opened up. You walked in and they printed you a ticket. You bought it right there. You had it in your hand. There was no scalping, no resale, no secondary market. $20.
Well, I mean, there still was a secondary market. They would go up and they buy those and then they sell them in the parking lot.
Yeah, but I still don't even think it was nearly what it is today.
Oh, no.
It's gotten to the point, and did I reveal the secret of where the concert that I'm going to? Did I talk about it?
Yes.
Okay. So this week we're going to Taylor Swift. We paid, I think, probably 15 to 20% of what it would cost in the United States. And that's simply because of the resale laws and the availability of the tickets. It's sad because I think you have a whole generation here that's going to end up missing out on those small shows because they just go to those one big festival like EDC or even like Sick New World in Vegas.
On which you're an expert.
I am.
And this ticket triggered a very old man response out of me because I thought, wow, $21. That's what a concert ticket should cost. And, not adjusting. Then it made me think, shit, when I was a kid and I was asking my mom for $20 to go to a show, now I realize, oh my God, I'm my mom now. Because if a kid was like $60 for a show, I'd be like, absolutely not. When I was a kid, shows were $20. I used to get into shows for $3.
Yeah, you can't even buy now. You have to order the Taylor Swift like merch, the tour merch before.
Oh.
Because they run out and sometimes the individual concerts don't even have the t-shirts. But Vanessa like tried to dress me up. She's like, "Are you going to get a t-shirt like a dad's?" I said, "No, I'm not." She's like, "Why not?" I said, "Because nobody is going to see me at the show and be like, wow, he must be a big Swiftie."
No, but if you get a shirt that says like Shat the Movies loves Taylor Swift, then people are going to be like, "What's Shat the Movies?" And then you could sell them on our merch store for the Swifties, Shat the Movies crossover Taylor Swift shirt.
Well, I was thinking because she does have a new song called Florida. And it's making fun of Florida and Destin. She's like, Florida, it's a hell of a drug. So I was thinking about maybe turning some kind of like a Taylor merch about Florida.
There you go.
It's a hell of a drug and like kind of like a beat up like Disney castle in the background or something.
Get Raj in there, do like a Florida Man crossover. Chris, you probably don't know what that is, but dig deep enough. You'll find it.
Three Amigos.
All right. And finally, we've got an email from Adrian Nemard, who kicked the shit out of me at Fantasy PL. He said, "Hi, Shat the Movies crew. I'd like to review The Untouchables, please. Starring Kevin Costner, Andy Garcia, Robert De Niro, and Sean Connery, for which he won a Best Supporting Actor Oscar as well as a Golden Globe. I was thinking Rising Sun with Sean Connery and Wesley Snipes, but best to kick off with the movie that marked, I think, Sir Sean Connery's guaranteed box office gold run from 1987. I was 12 years old when the movie came out. I taped the movie when it aired on BBC One late at night a few years later, and it marked my first foray into serious grown-up movies. At university, my friends and I would still quote the movie to each other, probably because the movie was so memorable. And no, I had no idea when I watched it what the Prohibition era was. That was not until I took a course in American history in the first year of my economics degree, which shows how gormless us Brits can be at times. Anyway, let me know if I can commission this one. I just watched the movie this evening, and I think it should be an enjoyable period flick. Chef's kiss to Giorgio Armani for the wardrobe. I hear Bob Hoskins was down to play Al Capone, but it just had to be De Niro. Kindest regards, Adrian Nemard.
But we've seen Bob do a gangster, and he did a good job in The Long Good Friday.
That's right. And Adrian, this just reinforces what we talked about in the last episode, as far as wanting to go into the 2000s, but having so much gold in the 80s. The Untouchables. We haven't done The Untouchables. It's a terrific, it's a huge movie.
And this movie covers so many bases. This could be a historical film that you learn about historical figures. It won many awards. It was a huge box office. It's a kick-ass fun action film. Memorable lines. This covers everything. Yes, the answer is yes. Please. Yes.
Big D, what do we have coming up next week?
Gene, next week, school teacher and single mother Samantha lives an average suburban life until she begins having strange memories of unexplained violence and discovery that she has physical skills that she never imagined. Hiring private detective Mitch to probe into her past, Samantha discovers that she's a well-trained government assassin who went missing after suffering a bout with amnesia and that her former handler wants her back into their employ. Commissioned by Jeremy A.W., came out in 96, and this should be a wild one. We're going back to the bullpen. We're calling out some special heat for this one, Gene.
Yeah, and if this sounds like a far-fetched, bizarre movie plot, I'm told that it actually makes a lot of sense, is a cult classic, and is a fantastic film. So don't sleep on this one.
No, and as I was reading this, I was thinking Cutthroat Island. So I was like, how does this tie into, her past? I thought maybe it was a tie-in that she had been a pirate. No, different Gina Davis film.
All right.
I thought maybe I had a stroke. I thought I was stroking out.
Well, thank you, Jeremiah, for your upcoming commission. Thank you, Shannon, for your commission. Thank you to all the commissioners who make this podcast possible. That concludes this week's episode of Shat the Movies. Be sure to follow us on social media, share with a friend. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, and Instagram at Shat the Movies. You can email us, host@shatpod.com. If you'd like to leave us a voicemail, you can go to shatpod.com, use the SpeakPipe feature on any device. Support our podcast by shopping our Amazon affiliate link, buying our merch, including Big D's Florida Hell of a Drug Taylor Swift t-shirt, or by commissioning your own movie. Find all information by visiting our website, shatpod.com. Also, check out our sister podcast, Shat on TV. We review TV series such as Lovecraft Country, Westworld, True Detective, Taboo, American Gods, Game of Thrones, and Watchmen. Find all information on our website, shatpod.com/TV, and wherever fine podcasts can be found, including Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, and YouTube. Be sure to subscribe, and if you stop by Apple Podcasts, please leave a 5-star review. It helps the podcast grow. On behalf of my co-hosts, Ash and Big D, I'm Gene Lyons. Join us next time for the following movie.
Hello, girls. Caitlin, come help me in the kitchen. Hurry up, because I forget where it is.
That's her mom. She's got amnesia.
What if you couldn't remember your real name, your first kiss, or your last goodbye?
I don't remember.
Honey, you have an ETA on that carrot?
Stow it.
And then suddenly,
I used to do this. I'm a chef. Yeah!
without warning,
Give me something else.
Celery! Scallions!
Ah!
all your memories
Name's Charlie. I'm coming back.
came flooding back to you.
Hey, Charlie. Long time.
One bullet at a time.
I got movement on Samantha Kane.
You're kidding.
I may have a lead on someone. May still have some of her stuff.
This man is going to help me find some things out, so we'll be safe.
Your full name is Charlene Elizabeth Baltimore. This could be trouble.
My name is Samantha Kane.
No, forget all that.
I'm in the PTA.
Then quit! You're an assassin working for the United States government.
We have 24 hours. We find her, and we kill her.
Run for your life!
Charlie Baltimore's alive, sir.
Who are you?
Name's Charlie. The spy.
Back when we first met, you were all like, oh, boy, I burned the darn muffins. Now, you go into a bar, 10 minutes later, sailors come running out. What up with that?
This fall.
Honk if there's any trouble.
Yeah, so Miss Daisy, I be honking.
If you have plans for a calm, quiet evening,
Cover your ears. Hey, should we get a dog?
it's time to kiss them all good night. Gina Davis, Samuel L. Jackson, The Long Kiss Goodnight. Directed by Rennie Harlan.